Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you all very much. Well, I'm Swami Jnaneswariananda from the Sivananda Yoga Farm in Grass Valley, California. I've been a teacher in the Sivananda Yoga Vedanta Centers since 1996. I teach in the teacher's training courses. For many years, I taught the asanas. I teach the anatomy and physiology and philosophy and meditation. For the past 3 years, I've been teaching in the Sivananda Yoga Health Educator training, teaching the anatomy and physiology mostly, and also teaching some of the adaptions of yoga that we do for people with different abilities and capabilities. Okay, so we're going to start by reviewing about the triangle and the benefits of the triangle and the corrections for it. So first, do you want to come up and we could work on this a little bit, how you would do the triangle. So it's basic instructions, so you would face sideways. Bring the legs apart. How far apart are the legs going to be?
Leg length apart.
That's right, leg length. So it's like if you know your inseam, that's about the distance apart. So we want like a nice equilateral triangle is usually the best thing to have. Right, we'll start by turning the left foot out to the left and keeping the right foot straight ahead. If it feels like too much tension on the knee, on the right leg, you can turn the right foot in a little bit, only if it's too much tension. And one of the things we want to make sure is that the hips are level and that you're not twisting around, you're not doing this. And you're sitting like this. Now, what are you going to have to watch out for somebody? Some people are going to have problems with what? Doing this, with their knee turned down. Right, for some people, that's going to be too much tension on the knee. And if that's a problem for them, you tell them to keep the foot, they can either turn the foot a little bit forward or they can even keep the feet parallel straight ahead. Right? So if you see somebody that's they're twisting their hips, you can ask them to bring their hips square, and you can ask them, is it too much tension on the knee like that? And you just want to double check with people. As you know, some people will think that the pain is useful, but it's not in this case. All right. Now, when we do the triangle, there's 2 different ways to do it. One of the ways I suggest doing it is doing it where you bring the hand up next to the ear, and you really lengthen up here. And I'll explain why we want to do that in a moment. We really want to stretch, lengthening the whole side over here, and then coming straight over to the side. Don't worry about going down. Think about touching the wall, just going over as far as you can like that. All right? And just like you're trying to touch the wall out over here. That's it. And as they're able to go down further, they will go down further, but it will come with that stretch. What you don't want them to do, come back up and lower the arm. What you don't want them to do is something, can you do like a really bad one where you're trying to touch the floor and bring your, yeah, there we go. This is what we don't want, okay? Oh, your hands got to be floppy, there we go. Okay? People worry so much about touching their feet or coming down that they're losing, number one, they're losing the stretch here. They've got this twist in here, and they're really not getting the flow of prana. So remember that the flow of prana is different as well, so come back up. Why is it important to have I sometimes joke about, making it Velcroed to your ear there. Why do we want to have the arm right next to the ear like that? Well, it keeps the stretch, but it also does what? It keeps an alignment, okay? Because some people are going to, can you do it like where your head drops forward or something? Just do that same poor one, right? And the head will kind of drop forward a little bit. There we go. All right? So from the back, what you want to see is just one line coming, and it's all in like one plane. Okay, so come back up. So we can try the other side so you don't get too tired on one side. So again, bring this arm right up next to the ear. And if he does this neck and the spine are all going to be in one line here. And then he's going to stretch up and lengthen and then come over to the side. Okay? And just keep reaching out to the side. So you really want to feel this stretch all the way from like the ankle, through the hip, through the waist, through the shoulder, the elbow, wrist, right out towards the end of the fingers. And you can almost feel the prana like flowing out to the ends of the fingers there. Okay, very good. And coming up. Very nice. All right. Okay. So go ahead and just stand there for a moment, okay, in case I need you again. So remember, one of the things I said was important is like before we even start, we do that nice stretch there. Okay. Why is that? Do you think that's important? Right. Right. So one thing is whenever we do any bending or twisting of the spine, we want to lengthen it. All right? We want to have as little compression of those discs between the vertebrae. We want that to be extended as possible, as little compression as possible, so that when we do that bending, it's healthier for the discs. It gives the discs more movement. And remember, any movements we make, the bending, the twisting, what are we doing with those discs? That's right. It's like a compression and release. It's like a sponge. And what's happening is that they're getting the cartilage in the discs gets its nourishment from that. There's no blood flow there, or very little blood flow. It's just superficial. And it's that squeezing and releasing that brings the nourishment in and takes out the waste products on there. But there's another reason in terms of the type of contraction, how we're using the muscles. Right? So we're doing two different things in this one, right? So go ahead and try it again, and just tell me what you feel like you're using. So you bring the arm up to your ear, and then you're stretching. So we're stretching these muscles. Now he's coming over to the side, and he's doing very nicely. He's not leaning on the leg. He's just letting that hand slide down. What's happening with these muscles here? They're stretching, but they're also doing what? They're contracting to support the weight. Okay, good, very good. Come back up. And so when we do that, what we've got is it's what we call an eccentric contraction. Okay? So the muscles are contracting, trying to create force. So they're working to move this way, and yet we're stretching. And so we have this other force going this way. So we have these two different forces happening. This is the most dangerous part of any sort of stretching, is when we have eccentric contraction, when you're stretching while you're trying to contract. All right? This is when it's easier to tear. And it'll be little micro tears, but we don't want any tearing. All right? So what we want to do is we want to stretch as much as possible before we do that. All right? And so we stretch, and then we reach over. Okay? So we want to allow it to stretch, and we're supporting the weight with the muscles, but we also want it to stretch at the same time. So really, when I give instructions for this, I even tell people, try to touch the ceiling. Go that extra inch up. Reach the cookie jar on the top shelf. And then come over and do that stretch, okay? Okay. So what are some of the benefits of this asana? Yes, right. Nice for opening up the intercostal space in there. We do one side and then the other. Also in our sequence, this is where we get this lateral bending. Okay, so we get this lateral bending. So in the whole sequence we're doing forward bending, backward bending, we do twisting, and we do this lateral bending. So again, that squeezing and relaxation of the discs is happening in all these different directions, keeping the discs flexible and healthy so that they don't crumble and collapse. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Shaman, can you come up for a minute? I don't know what your triangle looks like. I'm not, but we're going to do a couple of corrective things on this one. Okay, so go ahead and do your triangle. You can start to the left. There we go. Hand up to the arm, right up to your ear, and coming over, just as far as you can. That's right. All right. And really stretching out towards your fingertips. That's it. And again, you can look straight ahead or just gently up a little bit. That's okay. But again, try and make sure you're keeping everything in alignment. Okay, then come on up. I just wanted to see what you were like normally. Now you can do it to the other side. And this time, again, I want you to really like over twist and like not let your back come out of alignment. Okay, so he's going to stretch up, He's going to over twist and come down. Right. Very good. That's an excellent bad one. You're my model now, Alfred, the bad one. Now, one of the things that's tempting is when somebody's like this. Go ahead and stay with it. One of the things that's tempting is go like, no, you want to straighten your hips out, and you want to do this. And to try to move them around from that position. But what you need to do is have them come up, and you just start from here, okay? Sometimes in some of the asanas, we can do little adjustments. For this, the main big adjustments like this, you just really want them to come up, really reach up, and then you just guide them over. Always letting them find the asana, but just guiding them, okay? Keeping the hips level and guiding them over like this, all right? And letting that hand slide down. Very good. And stretching out, and then coming up. Stretch as you reach up and lower the arm, okay? Can we do one more correction? Go ahead to the left again. Yeah, okay, so. And sometimes it just takes a little correction, like if you feel that somebody's not coming all the way over, so go ahead and come over. And again, don't worry about going down, think about coming out to the side. Sometimes you can just pull a little on the tips of their fingers. I just use the tips of my fingers like this, and just give them that sense of lengthening, okay, just really that movement in this direction, and coming out like that. Very good. And coming up. Excellent. Thank you very much. Oh, okay. So that's the triangle, a Trikonasana. How about the standing forward bend? Can we use you for standing forward bend? You can face the... Yeah, that's good. Okay. So, standing up nice and straight. And again, first direction in the standing forward bend. Weight is even between the heels and the toes. So you want to look to make sure they're not leaning forward or backwards, or leaning too far over too much weight on the balls of their heels. Can you show them what that would look like? Yeah. So some people have a postural problem where they will, they can be a little sway back like this, but it can also just be that they end up just too far like this, or their head's out forward. That's it. So you just want them to stand up nice and straight, and that's why we're having them do asanas, right? It's going to correct their postures very nicely. And we don't want them either leaning back too far on the heels, okay? And so that can be a leaning back, or it can be just the buttocks coming out back. That's right, too much weight on the heels. And so you just, again, gentle guidance, all right? And remember, you're not going to correct everybody's postural problems in one day, but you just want to guide them a little bit if you see that. So, and then let them feel it, okay? So they feel that weight's very even between the 2 feet, so they're not weight on one hip or on the other, between the 2 hips, and between the heel and the ball of the foot. Okay. And so we're going to start again. We want to lengthen the spine before we do any bending. This is Pada Hastassana, the standing forward bend. So again, try to touch the ceiling. Another inch up, there you go. And really just lifting yourself up out of your hip, out of your waist. And then bending from the hips, bending from here. And then going to come straight over, reaching out and come all the way down. And then there's different variations we can do here. The classic variations is, first of all, clasping the back of the legs. We can do that one. Elbows tucked into the side. We can take hold of the toes with the index and middle finger, take hold of the big toes. And then you can put the thumbs right over the top of the toes. That's a pressure point right there. Right, like that. Okay, so it's taking that marma point there. And again, the elbows tucked in. And then the third variation is with the palms flat on the floor, but the fingers pointed behind you. The palms flat on the floor, fingers pointed behind you. And just walk the hands back behind you. Okay. And again, in this position, we want what? The weight even between the heels and the toes. And the legs straight, and just gently bringing the head towards the legs. Okay. So he's flexible enough, he can bring his legs down like this. If you weren't so flexible, can you be not so flexible and just take the back of your legs and grasp hold and just bring your head as much as you can towards. Now, even when he's pretending, you see what he just did? His weight shifted back over his heels. And so you just have people, make sure the weight is even. You don't push them, but just guide them just a little bit. Just bring the weight a little bit forward. Because what's happening? We want that even stretch all the way from the heel all the way up on there. And I would probably have him relax his head a little bit there. Like that. Very good. Okay. Now he can release, and they can just hang there. You can have them take hold of their elbows. And especially for people that have like very stiff backs or very stiff legs, sometimes in this position, it's just a very nice time, and it's usually towards the end of the class. I just tell them to bend their knees just a little bit and give themselves permission just to stretch out a little bit further. Okay? Because sometimes, we're always telling them, keep your legs straight. And if they really have trouble, doing any bending in here, you can give them a little more of a give on that one. Okay? Thank you. And then rolling up, just a little bit, one vertebra at a time. Head comes up last. And very good. All right. Very nice. Thank you. Is there a counter stretch to this one? Any counter stretch you like to do? Yeah. So I do this one a lot too. This is my just a little bending back. Right? And if they're going to feel more stable, you have them bring the feet apart a little bit. All right? And it's just hips forward a little bit. Head back. Okay. Thank you very much. So what are the benefits of this one? Well, like any inversion, right? It's increasing the blood flow. Okay? We're increasing the blood flow. What are we mainly stretching?
Lower back.
What did you feel? You felt the lower back?
I feel the
Hamstrings. Okay. Right. That's it. It's a little bit of a balance for people. Okay. So what populations would you be careful on having them do this? It's kind of true for all the standing postures. So in general, we'd say older people. Of course, many older people have very nice balance, but for people that just may have balance problems, okay, people that have certain types of weaknesses or recovering, right? And what would we do in that case?
Bend their knees a lot.
They can bend their knees a little bit, but they can also do it with their legs further apart. They can feel more stable. And they can do it like near a wall or near a chair. And you can even have them, can you bring up a chair for me real quick? Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah, you can even just have the chair. And if you have a chair, you want to make sure it's on something that's not going to slip. Okay. And just have the chair, they can bend forward over the chair. Okay, especially, something like this, that they're doing a little bit supported. Okay. So that they just feel stable. So when you're working with people with balance problems and things, it's important that you make sure they're not going to slip or fall, that they've got something to feel comfortable in. Because one of the big things that keeps us from doing well when we do asanas is fear. And so if you have fear that I don't know what's going to happen, I have fear I'm going to slip, I don't have fear that I don't have the strength to support myself, then we can give them something like that to use on that. But in general populations, it's a very nice asana. And the main thing difference you would have to do is just that, bringing the feet a little bit apart so they feel more stable, have a little bit more stability on there. Okay. So the half spinal twist. All right. Half spinal twist, Ardha Matsyendrasana. You want to do it, Swamiji? So I'm going to talk through the instructions just to say, a nice way to get the instructions. So have them start sitting on their heels. Well, you can sit up. He's starting in the child's pose. And then sitting up. And so he's sitting on the heels. And again, nice straight back, everything in alignment. And we just have them sit to the right of the heels, like this, right? And then bring the left foot over the right leg and the left hand on the floor behind you. So again, we want to check what? That he's got his back straight, that he's not leaning back. His arm's long enough that his palm's almost flat on the floor when he does this. And you'll see a lot of students think that they have to have the palm flat on the floor, but when they do that, they end up doing this. But when we do the twist, we want the spine very straight. So make sure people aren't leaning back. Another problem is that some people have this foot pulled too far, and especially if they've got a little bit of abdominal space in there, they will be pushed, they won't be able to sit up, and they'll be more like this. Right? So it's an easy correction. You just tell them, just bring this foot forward a little bit. And they can see that they sit up nice and straight that way. So the palms touching here. We're going to reach up, reach for the ceiling. Again, lengthening the spine. Really reach, Swamiji. There we go. Stretching up, and then you're going to twist to the left, keeping the spine straight. And you use this arm like a lever, and it's going to push against that leg and push yourself around. They can take hold of the ankle. Or if they can't do that, they can take hold of the knee. And if it's really difficult for somebody, again, often the problem is you have to pull this foot forward. So a self-check a student can do, or you can do, is that the two shoulders should be level. Generally, if this shoulder is too high, it's another sign that this foot has to come forward a little bit. So just check that the shoulders are level, the spine is straight. So as you inhale, lengthen the spine. As you exhale, just turn gently to the left. Look over the left shoulder gently. So you would never do anything like turn their head. You may sometimes straighten their head again, just the pads of your fingers, just gently touching like this. Just, you can turn and look over. You can run your fingers up their spine while you say inhale, lengthen the spine, just to give them that feel. Inhale, lengthening. Exhaling, and again, just the fingertips on the shoulder. Inhale, turn a little bit more to the left. And you can even try walking that left hand back. That's it. And you see what happens when he does that? That shoulder opens up. So it's very easy for people to twist at the waist and to twist at the neck. But it's harder to get the twist to come into the thoracic, the chest area, and the lower back. Okay? How do we increase twisting in the lower back? By pressing that. They don't have to bring the left hip down to the floor, but we're going to want them to just kind of press it towards the floor while they keep the spine straight. Now, obviously, if somebody's got lower back problems, we would tell them not to do that. In fact, we would do a different type of twist, I'll show in a minute, to not have as deep of a twist. So this is a twist that goes deep into the spine. Right? The more that you're able to pull this foot back, in fact, there's one variation where you're going to pull this foot back and grasp hold with this hand, the left hand. That brings a very deep twist into the lower back and also the sacrum. Right? That's our usual block because sacrums become solid. Right? But some sacrums have a little bit of give. But we never want to force that because the joint between the ilia, the pelvis, sitting on the sacrum, can become disrupted if we do that. If people try to force it too much. Right? So just gently working on it. Thank you. I was just going to show that variation. If somebody has trouble reaching their foot, their ankle, or reaching this knee, this is the other variation for the hand. Okay? So they bend the elbow, and it's in parallel with the thigh, just flat on there. And so they're using that to get that leverage to push around. Okay? And push around in this. So it's important that, again, chronically, it's important they have the two hands grounded. And if they're very grounded, can you do this one again with the hand out? Again, we can bring this foot down a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so I just want you to try. You want to try the other side? We'll give you a little break on that one. Sorry. And you can see his back from this one too. He reaches out, comes around, comes over, okay. And I'm going to pull this one out just a little bit. Okay. And you see how nice and straight his spine is here? And you can actually see this twisting happening. So again, you can walk this hand back a little bit if you're comfortable. Okay, so he's anchored here. He's got two ground points. He's got the hand behind him and the hand that's holding the ankle. And just look over your shoulder and just close your eyes. And each time you inhale, just feel the spine get longer. And as you exhale, just imagine that it's just twisting a little bit more to the right. And you almost feel like it's going lengthening and turning, lengthening and turning. Okay? But you only get that effect really if you have both hands grounded and anchored in there. And then the breath does all the work. You can relax and just breathe. And you turn. Very nice. Okay. Om Namah Shivaya. And release. And then afterwards, if you want to do something, you can bend your knees and then hug them tight to your chest. And then just imagine that somebody's pulling you up from the top of your head. Like this, that's it. I don't have any hair to grab. Just lengthen and just hug, right? Just again to give the spine something straight to line up against. And we're lengthening it. Right? And then release. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Benefits of the spinal twist?
It massages the vertebrae.
Right. Again, it's more of that squeezing and releasing, nourishing the discs.
And it invigorates the digestive organ.
That's right. So you'll notice how many of the asanas we talk about are massaging the internal viscera, the digestive system. Right? So especially the intestines, the small intestines and the large intestines. Right? And this brings more blood flow to them. And it also helps when the digestive system is sluggish. It helps move things through. Very good. And if we have any tension, it's very good for releasing. The spinal twist is also known as the asana for rejuvenation. Right? It makes you feel young. Right? Why? What's it doing? If you think about the back, not just the muscles, but the ligaments that hold the spine together. As we do that twisting, what is it doing? That's right, it's lengthening them. One of the ligaments hold joints together, and one of the problems is, again, not a lot of blood flow to them. They tend to age. It's a type of connective tissue that tends to age. And when it ages, it gets stiff. And when it gets stiff, it loses its flexibility. It's never going to be as flexible as muscle. Muscle has the ability to lengthen quite a bit and come back. Ligaments, not so much. But we want to keep them as flexible as possible with as much movement that they're able to move and also to stretch a little bit, give a little stretch to it. And so when we do that spinal twist, we're working on those ligaments. There's a whole series of ligaments that run the front of the vertebra, the back of the vertebra, that run up the sides, holding that whole spinal column together. And as we do that twisting, we're working all of those and keeping them. And you know, if you've ever woken up in the morning with a bad back, you know how old you feel. So if we can keep the spine flexible and keep it feeling flexible and having that stretch in there, then we're going to keep ourselves feeling young. Okay, so it's just, and it increases the blood flow to the ligaments. It increases the blood flow to the spine and to the cartilage in the spine and every parts of it. And it's also what we call the facet joints, which is where one vertebra touches the other vertebra. In the back, we have that overlap. Those joints, this is working on that synovial fluid in there. Again, the same idea, keeping those joints very, very healthy as well. So we'll finish with the crow, Kakasana. Anybody want to demonstrate the crow?
I'll try.
Okay. I like that. I'll try it.
Facing sideways or front?
You can face sideways so you can see. Or you can do a 3/4 angle. There we go. All right. So first of all, come back up. I would bring your feet apart a little bit. Okay. So about shoulder width apart. Okay. And then he's going to come forward and put his palms on the floor about the same width. So it's, again, shoulder width apart, not too far apart. And the fingers pointing straight ahead, or you can, some people are comfortable turning them in a little bit. And I'll talk about that in just a moment when we see how he does. I have to see how he lines up here. And he's going to bend the elbows. And when he bends the elbow, he's making a little shelf here with the upper arm. Right? I'm going to put the legs on that shelf and look forward about 1 meter in front of you and just bring the weight onto your hands. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. And breathe. Very good. And then coming down. Coming back up. And you can stand up. Okay, very nice. Okay. So I'm going to use you again. Okay. So notice the position of his arms and his legs in that. Okay. So can you come do it again? And just so they can see how your knees and your hands, the positioning of this. Okay. Right. See how his knees are coming out this direction? Right. So for a lot of people, that's a very comfortable pose to do it in. All right. So you can come down whenever you're comfortable. For some people, again, it just depends on the length of your legs and the length of your arms and everything else. For some people, they can have, it's almost like the leg and the arm are parallel to each other. And it's almost like their knee is in their armpit there. But for a lot of people, when they try to do that, they just feel a sharp pain in their back of their arm where their knee is digging into it. It's sort of like the same thing if I dug my knee into your arm, my elbow into your arm. It's the same idea. So it's not very comfortable. And so in those cases, again, they can have the elbows out just a little bit and the knees turned out just a little bit. And it fits very nicely like that, all right? And so for those people, sometimes if they don't feel they can balance very well, I have them turn the hands in just a little bit. Definitely not like this, but just a little bit so that it's more natural for them to have their elbows out a little bit, right? Because it's awkward if they try to keep their hands straight and have the elbows come out just a little bit. So we just have them turn the hands in a little bit on that one, okay? What if somebody's having trouble coming up? So pretend you can't come up. Right. So again, legs apart, put the hands down. Okay. All right. So first thing, just say that's as far as you can get. Right? You're afraid to go any further. First thing is I always tell them you can do something like, like you can look at my toes. You put your foot like 3 feet in front of them, 1 meter in front. Sometimes I'll even put something on the floor there. All right, like their sock or something like that. I'll put it on the floor. So just look at that. Because when you turn the head down, you're going to tend to follow it. You tend to follow your head. And in the balancing poses, on the handstand, the crow, anything like this, the only thing you have to adjust really is your chin. The angle of your chin is going to adjust your balance in these postures. All right? So I check his position. Is it comfortable here? You don't feel like this is jabbing into your knee too much? Okay. You're getting tired? Okay. Then really the only thing to tell people at this point is just don't worry about bringing your feet up. Just bring the weight onto your hands. Eventually your feet will come up naturally, right? And I may even tell if somebody looks like they're close, I say, that's exactly. I say, just try picking up one foot. You can put it down. Try picking up the other foot. Put it down. Letting them find it a little bit more. That's it. Very good. Thank you very much. What you don't want to have happen is people, they'll do this, and they'll be like basically almost sitting down and then trying to jump their feet off of the floor. All right? So you really just want them to get comfortable bringing the weight onto their hands. All right? Who are we going to have to be careful with this sort of asana?
People with arthritis.
People with arthritis, osteoporosis. Okay, we probably would not have them do this asana, but some people, it's what we're trying to do is strengthen. And for people that are healthy, we're actually strengthening the bones because we're putting weight on them. Okay, it's a weight-bearing exercise with those, and so it'll be strengthening the bones there. We're stretching here. We're doing this, stretching these, what would tend to be the flexors are being stretched, which they don't often get stretched unless we're doing an exercise where we're trying to stretch like that. We're doing that stretching and we're strengthening in here. And it's also, the general category we put this in is the balancing pose. Is a balancing pose. The main reason we do this posture is as a preparation for the peacock, Mayurasana. Okay, so in Hatha Yoga, Mayurasana is a very, very powerful asana. We're not going to do that today. It's a very powerful asana for releasing the energy from the what we call the solar plexus, from those energy centers here. But to do that, you have to have flexible wrists and you have to have strong wrists and have practice in balancing on them. So the crow in itself is a very nice asana, and there's the variations we do with that. But it is also thought of as the preparation for the Mayurasana, the more advanced one.